Hey guys, welcome to Pajama Let's Play. I'm Michelle, host of Pajama Let's Play, where we talk all things Kingdom Hearts. Today I'm going to be talking about Xehanort and the key issue with working specifically for the greater good. But before we get into that, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. You can follow me on Twitch, check out my Patreon, or leave a tip via PayPal. All of those things are in the description box down below. As always, there will be spoilers, so heads up. So, Xehanort. We know his primary motivation is to serve the greater good. For him, that means fully restoring Kingdom Hearts so that he can reset the worlds according to his own design. He believes the balance between light and darkness is skewed, and there needs to be order and neutrality. But see, here's the problem. We've seen that what he believes to be the greater good is not what others believe it to be. He starts off pretty neutrally as player, but allows others to dictate what the greater good is. I think this is mostly because the union leaders are teaching their own values to their unions, and those values get reinforced by Ephemer and later Skuld and the rest of players' new friends. In fact, players' idea of the greater good in Union Cross was sacrificing themselves in order to save everyone else and keep the darknesses bound within the datascape. In fact, let's talk about players' idea of the greater good. First, player had to pretend to be possessed by a darkness entity in order to get the rest of the darknesses alone to save everyone else. The way player locked them all up together seems to be the most honorable deed player and later Xehanort does to serve the greater good. Player knew that by sacrificing themselves, everyone else's lives may be spared. They're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to make sure darkness gets trapped and unable to expand. That served not only players' friends, but the world as a whole. That is without factoring in whether anything in the data realm even matters, because we know how things play out according to the Master of Masters plan. But player didn't know that and made a split-second decision that truly provides the best outcome for the most people. However, unlike Xehanort, pretty much all of the other characters agree that this sacrifice did indeed serve the greater good. So, player succumbs and opts to reincarnate as Xehanort. Allegedly. Still waiting on Dark Road over here to give us confirmation and or details. Adolescent Xehanort starts to skirt the line a little bit of genuinely serving the greater good versus simply serving his greater good. In his mind, it's best to limit how many of his classmates are involved in his personal mission, but only because he wants them to stay safe while he goes to find some answers. He allows Ericus to join him because they're essentially brothers, so they have that unconditional trust in each other, but they completely exclude everyone else. It's a dangerous mission, but at this point in Xehanort's life, gathering information is the top priority. I actually don't disagree with him on that, but there's no need to isolate themselves, especially with how obviously they were hiding something. In my opinion, serving the greater good would mean including the other classmates and working in teams to find out as much information as possible. Maybe a group of 3 goes to the Queen of Hearts, while the others go to the Cheshire Cat, or something along those lines. Because I believe that keeping everyone in the loop about such an important side mission is the most efficient way to find the information and deal with Heartless and other threats. Keeping everyone out of the loop tends to ensure that the person who decided that they're the hero and champion gets injured alone, and that very rarely ends up well. But again, that's my opinion, and I'd love to read yours in the comments. In fact, we know people perish, and I'm assuming those gravestones belong to the very classmates Xehanort and Ericus opted to keep out of the loop. If that's the case, I can see why Xehanort may decide that secrecy is far more important, and works alone to minimize casualties. But again, in my opinion, serving the greater good means giving everyone the information they need to survive and to also help in the mission. As far as we know, because again, we're still waiting on Dark Road, Xehanort goes off on his own to learn more about the universe and likely to reflect on the events of Dark Road and who he is versus who he wants to be. At some point, he meets the Master of Masters and has that conversation about accepting the role of the villain. And now we get into the next issue with serving the greater good. Xehanort sees in the future that he will become the villain of Sora's story, and he decides that the greater good requires a villain, so he willingly accepts the role. But my question is, was a villain really necessary? if his vision was so noble and truly served the greater good, according to all of those people who together form the collective consciousness, which then dictates the greater part in the greater good? Wouldn't he be able to find a peaceful way to reset the worlds? The fact that he did this alone, except for those he tricked, those that are tricking him, or just have nothing else to do with themselves, means what he sees as the greater good doesn't align with everyone else who should also have a say in what the greater good is. And that is exactly the problem with Xehanort. I'm sure you've noticed, but I've been using the phrase "in my opinion" a lot for this video. I don't know what the greater good is for humanity because I'm only one person. And let's be honest, I don't even know what the greater good for me personally is. I have no right to dictate what is right for someone else. The truth is that the greater good is a fallacy. It's a phrase used to describe a noble concept, but with how many people are involved in the destiny of this game, as well as in real life, there isn't going to be a single greater good. Do Ericus and Xehanort agree on what would serve the greater good best? Absolutely not. One wants neutrality and balance, while the other wants the light to dominate darkness. But take Sora. What's his version of the greater good? No wars, no villains, just everyone living in peace and utilizing their free will. If no one can agree on what the greater good means, how can anyone truly serve it? Using that phrase, in my opinion, is nothing more than a way to make one's actions and thoughts sound more noble, and hide exactly how selfish and narrow-minded the mindset is. There are plenty of villains in the real world who say they serve the greater good, then end up with massive crises like the Holocaust, eugenics, holy wars, etc. People are so willing to make these high-impact decisions based on their own limited viewpoint that I don't believe there is such a thing as the greater good. Only the most good for the most people. But again, that's subjective. What's good for me isn't necessarily what's good for you, and no one person should be basing their decisions on such a fluid concept. If you truly want to serve the greater good, you need to first find out what the majority of people think that means, and we certainly don't see that very much in Kingdom Hearts. There are a couple of exceptions, of course, but overall, it seems to me that Xehanort is just looking for a pretty bow to wrap all his pain-inducing decisions in. But what do you think? Is there someone who best serves the greater good? What does that concept mean for you? Tell me all about your thoughts in the description box down below. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitch, check out my Patreon, or leave a tip via the PayPal link, all of which are in the description box down below. Until next time.